Now at 5, taking a knee. A silent, peaceful protest after nights of unrest in downtown Indianapolis.
Love, believe in the goodness and decency that is you. This fight is a fight that's worth having. This fight is a fight worth having. We're all just one people. The lines are done. The lines are done. They're done. We're all just human beings. The lines are done.
Listening and giving that man a handshake and a hug. Metro Police Chief Randall Taylor.
I especially appreciate how peaceful you've done this. Trust me, it speaks volumes. It really does, especially after the last couple nights that we've had.
And once again tonight, a curfew in Marion County to help keep the peace and protect residents and businesses.
This is RTV6 News at 5, working for you.
And now at 5 for the second night in a row, there will be a curfew in Marion County to help keep the peace. Thank you for joining us. I'm Amanda Starrentino.
And I'm Mark Mullins. Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogsett announced the curfew will go into effect at 8 o'clock and last until 4 tomorrow morning. It will lift a little earlier than it did today because polls open at 6 a.m. tomorrow for the primary. Well, today, IMPD leaders joined the mayor to address both the curfew and some of the uses of force against protesters over the weekend. Hogsett says enacting a curfew is a drastic move, but says it will prevent people from doing harm to important movements by committing crimes like arson, looting, and violence in its wake.
Last evening, peace returned to our streets. And that, frankly, would not be possible without residents who make sacrifices to stay at home for the safety of a grateful city.
The mayor then said he shares the community's concerns over some of the interactions he saw this weekend between police and protesters. He says IMPD will now reform its use of force policy, and a new use of force review board will have jurisdiction over non-lethal uses of force by officers on civilians.
And we have team coverage tonight as our reporters hear from state leaders, protesters, and people working to start over and clean up. We start with RTV6's Cameron Riddle and what the governor had to say today. Cameron.
Hey, good evening, guys. The governor is not happy with the way the heart of downtown Indianapolis looks like tonight. Take a look as we get ready here on a Monday afternoon. This is what downtown looks like following a week of destruction and violence that happened overnight after days of beautiful protests that were completely peaceful. Tonight, downtown looks like South Florida prepping for a hurricane, but instead, we are counting down to a curfew. Governor Holcomb expressed his support and applauded the peaceful protest that brought thousands to downtown Indianapolis following the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis. But the governor made it clear that the violence that showed up in over a dozen Indiana cities crosses the line.
No citizen has a right to destroy, vandalize, or threaten another Hoosier's safety or property.
The governor is also spent part of his afternoon that is talking with the president and attorney general, who has been urging governors to get a handle on the violence that has popped up in a number of major cities across the country this weekend. Tonight, the governor says the Indiana National Guard will be protecting state properties and supporting Indiana State Police, who will be guarding those same locations. They also say IMPD and other local police departments across the country will get extra help from state police or the Indiana National Guard, and it's as simple as just one phone call away. We are now just 3 hours less until we get to a curfew for all of Marion County. Live downtown tonight, I'm Cameron Riddle, RTV6.
Cameron, thank you. And earlier today, protesters gathered outside the city-county building for a peaceful protest. They all took a knee in honor of George Floyd. But right now, RTV6's Stephanie Wade is seeing something much different. What a change, Stephanie, in just a couple of hours.
Yeah, Amanda, right now protesters have made their way to Monument Circle. At least a couple hundred people have gathered here. I'm going to step aside. They're sitting on the steps of the monument right now. Several people are taking to the microphone. They're voicing their concerns, sharing their outrage about police brutality. You can see several hundred people are gathered here right now. I've also heard people talking about their plans for tonight. Some people calling on peaceful protests. Now, just moments ago, they were marching down Market Street, and before that, they were laying on the ground, actually blocking the middle of the road for quite some time. Laying down, they were chanting, "I can't breathe." That was near Market and Delaware Street. And again, this is just one protest that we are seeing here tonight. This looks like the protest that will begin tonight, actually. But earlier today, there was a different kind of protest, one that was silent, where protesters were kneeling on the ground. It was a message that was so powerful that the IMPD police chief actually kneeled alongside protesters as well. Dozens of protesters kneeled in silence in front of the city-county building. Also, Indianapolis Police Headquarters. Fists raised in the air, heads bowed in solitude against police brutality. A peaceful protest.
We need to do better. We need to have hard conversations. We need to be better. We need to be the very personification that is love, and we need to move forward, and we need to grow.
Community members today speaking directly with IMPD Chief Randall Taylor and other officers who came down to the protest, denouncing the violence that they say distracted from their message this weekend, as we saw dumpsters lit on fire, innocent businesses vandalized, but speaking candidly about the decades of racism they faced and calling for better treatment from police.
Police officers who are not of a good moral fiber, why are they continuing to be charged with protecting us when they're hurting us? They're harming us.
What is your message to protesters, to people who are hurting? What is your message if they want to continue protesting throughout the week or however long this goes on?
Well, they obviously, as long as it's peaceful, it's really not an issue. Like I said, this is a perfect example of how these things can go, and I really think they get the ear of the people that are listening, the people that can make changes that they're looking for.
Love one another. We are all we got. Thank you.
And Chief Taylor told me today he welcomes protests. He wants people to use their voice, share their concerns, many of the concerns that he shares as well, but he just wants people to protest peacefully and respectfully. So we will follow these folks along as they make their way through downtown, share their concerns and what they have to say here tonight. But for now, I'll send things back to you.
Now it's time for us to open, and then this is setting us back again.
One downtown restaurant owner thought he'd be getting back on track today, ready to open his dining room to customers as Indianapolis enters the next phase of reopening. But instead, he's still doing takeout. Michael's Soul Kitchen on Ohio Street was vandalized by protesters over the weekend. All the windows were shattered. RTV6's Troy Washington is live at the restaurant tonight with reaction. Troy.
Well, Mark, he is not getting down. This shop owner says that he is actually encouraged. That's because some volunteer contractors showed up while we were here, and they got right to work fixing the damage here and making sure that they're back on track to open the doors here. Now, if you recall, this restaurant was supposed to open up today at 50% capacity. They were looking forward to serving their famous fried catfish and their smothered pork chops, but that's not happening here today, and that's because all the windows are busted. But this is what the owner of the restaurant had to say earlier today.
I was at home when I started receiving calls, and then by the time I got here, all our window was busted, and the damage was already happened.
Well, just ahead at 6, we will take a closer look at that effort to get this restaurant back on track to open their doors and who's helping with that effort. Reporting live from downtown, I'm Troy Washington, RTV6.
Troy, thanks. And cleanup is also happening at war memorials around downtown Indianapolis, many covered in spray paint as protesters try to make their voices heard over the weekend. Megan Singtorm found out what cleanup will look like.
Leaders with the Indiana War Memorials say they have never seen damage to this extent, and they say the cleanup and restoration efforts could take over a week. They are some of the most iconic landmarks in the state, and this weekend they became the canvas for those with a message.
The damage has done quite a bit to tell a story that they're trying to tell. We're obviously trying to tell a story too.
A story of our country's history and the freedom so many fought for.
It's a slap in the face to people that have put the cloth of our nation on their backs to serve. And that's what these monuments do, is they tell the story about those folks that serve their country.
Stuart Goodwin is the executive director of the Indiana War Memorial. He stood by as restoration crews worked to remove spray paint from the Soldiers and Sailors Monument. He says 80% of monuments here in Indianapolis are damaged, and cleanup is no easy task. A special solution has to be used to draw the paint out of the limestone before it can be washed away. One protester tells us she doesn't condone damage to government property, but she understands why some may have done it.
People are turning to government-affiliated buildings or like the memorial and monuments, things like that, because their voice isn't being heard loud enough.
And she thinks those responsible are just fighting for change.
If that's what you want to do to make this world a better place, then do that.
But others say they want people to think twice before pulling out the spray paint, especially on monuments like this.
When you attack those, you attack us. And so it's very personal. We want people to come here. We want people to enjoy this, but we also ask them to leave it the way they found it.
Working for you, Megan Sanctorum, RTV6.
Thank you, Megan. And no word yet on if those responsible for painting the monuments will be identified and charged.
The exact cost of damage to downtown may well be in the 7 figures. More than 100 businesses have reported some level of damage caused by the vandalism. RTV6's Rafael Sanchez reports on the volunteers focused on the recovery of their hometown.
Keep doing that. Keep doing that. Yep.
The scrubbing. The spraying from multiple bottles. A sense of civic duty brought this group of volunteers to help clean up downtown.
Like, who are we waiting on to clean up our home? That's like sitting at home waiting on someone to clean it up. And it's just not going to happen. So I'm just going to show a little initiative.
Indianapolis-based City Life Youth in Christ was behind the volunteers, and so were a number of other local groups.
We're not naive to know that opportunists had took this opportunity and seized the moment. They're not even residents of Indianapolis and came into our city and provoked something, trying to cause war between the blue community and our citizens. And we're here to let them know we see you, we know who you are, and we would like for y'all to leave our city.
Downtown Indy, the organization which represents the downtown merchants, says it's creating a website to organize other volunteering opportunities. It is also collecting funds to help with repairs not covered by insurance.
This is going to be a tough one, but I think over time, between now and the end of the year, we'll recover well.
The people behind me are showing two things: that they care about their city's present and future. In downtown Indianapolis, Rafael Sanchez, RTV6.
Rafael, thank you. Downtown Indy says volunteers will not work on state monuments that were defaced, and that's because extra care must be taken on the limestone, as Megan Sanctorum explained. Downtown Indy says people who'd wish to volunteer or donate to the recovery effort can do so by going to downtownindy.org.
Still ahead on RTV6, Election Day in Indiana is just hours away, but your regular polling spot may not be open. There are fewer this year. How you can find out before you leave to cast your ballot. And up next, a $55 million warehouse is going up in one Metro Indy suburb. The big name making a move in central Indiana with its big footprint. Kevin.
And Amanda, clouds have increased throughout the afternoon. Now we have a few showers. They're fast moving. We'll talk about what happens after the evening showers coming up.
And this is the home of the brave.
All new at 5, Coca-Cola Consolidated is coming to Boone County and moving jobs to Whitestown. The soft drink company announced today that it will build a new $55 million distribution and automated warehouse in Whitestown. Warehouse and distribution employees will come from the Coke plant in Speedway. Other operations will be consolidated from other facilities. When fully operational, the warehouse will employ more than 450 people. Construction is expected to begin in June, with completion expected in the spring of next year. After nearly a month delay, tomorrow is finally Election Day in Indiana. And although tens of thousands of Hoosiers have already cast their ballots through vote by mail, nearly 550,000 people requested to vote this way, driven by safety concerns due to COVID-19. If you are voting in person tomorrow, the polls will be open from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. There are not as many places to vote this time around due to a shortage of poll workers in the coronavirus era. If you are not sure where to vote, you can go to indianavoters.com. In Marion County, check vote.indy.gov. There are only 22 voting centers in Marion County this time, compared to 270 in November. So you will likely not be able to vote where you usually do.
Now let's get the latest on the spread of COVID-19 in Indiana. For 2 days in a row, deaths have remained steady. 9 deaths reported today and 9 yesterday. And when you include Saturday, we've seen a big drop since Friday. Overall, Indiana has recorded 1,976 deaths. 292 more Hoosiers have tested positive for COVID-19. That's more than 100 less than yesterday's number and more than 400 fewer than Saturday. You can see the numbers have been up and down over the last 6 days. A total of 34,830 Hoosiers have tested positive for the virus so far.
Now to your Storm Team 6 forecast. Another gorgeous day today, but the temperatures are going to be on the way up very soon. Chief Meteorologist Kevin Gregory joins us from his home studio. Hey, Kevin.
Does it feel like June? It is June. Temperatures, they'll soar into the upper 80s during the day tomorrow. As far as summer, that officially arrives in 19 days. It'll feel like it, though, in 24 hours. I've been watching some rain on radar, and I'll show that to you in a second. And I asked many of you on Facebook, do you have any of this rain at your house? Because something interesting is happening. It's trying to evaporate before reaching the ground, but it's not doing that completely. 73 in Indy, 78 in Bloomington. Temperatures tomorrow will be 15 degrees warmer at this time. As you look at the radar, this looks fairly intimidating, like you'd be getting an all-out downpour. But I think in most cases, this is enough to get the street wet through Carmel, Noblesville, Fishers, Geist, then through Fortville and McCordsville. That's rapidly moving to the south and east. What's happening is the humidity is very low. So the lowest levels of the atmosphere are dry. Obviously, it's saturated where the rain forms above ground level. But as that falls through the dry air, it's evaporating. Not all of it's reaching the ground, but enough of it that you may get wet here as this rapidly moves south and east. But that should be it. We're dry for the rest of the night and during the day tomorrow. High pressure, as it slowly moves to the south and east, what it will do is change that wind direction. Tomorrow, you'll notice it will be windy out of the southwest. That bumps our temperature right back up into the upper 80s. But it was a great run, wasn't it? From Sunday through today with these comfortable temperatures in the afternoon and overnight lows. Wednesday and Thursday will add to that the chance for thunderstorms and temperatures in the 80s. Pretty consistent chance Wednesday through Friday. Then indications are the weekend should be dry, or the rain chance minimal on the Saturday. Wind and hail would be the main threats from any stronger storms during the day Wednesday. We'll keep our eye on that. They would show up in the afternoon into the evening hours. Temperature in Bloomington's 78, 73 in Indy and Lafayette. There's your warmer temperatures sitting to the west. 88 in Minneapolis, 86 in Des Moines, Kansas City at 84. We'll draw in that warmer air tomorrow. Hello to Crackers. If Crackers is going for a walk this evening, may get a little wet. I don't think Crackers will mind. Temperatures will fall into the 60s by 11 o'clock, and then overnight, not quite as cool as we have been. Tuesday, wind gusts close to 30 miles per hour. Out of a warm southwest direction. Although the temperature jumps tomorrow into the upper 80s, we won't really see a surge in the humidity until Wednesday is when you'll start to feel that. Wednesday morning, dry. 1 o'clock in the afternoon, still dry. Then we begin to see the line to the south and east. 4 o'clock, and then by 7, showers and some thunderstorms right along a cold front that will kind of sit in the area and keep a chance for rain with us on the Thursday and Friday. We'll emerge into the weekend. I'd say that chance of rain on Saturday is just 20%. Temperatures, though, staying in the 80s through the 7-day forecast and beyond. Could be very warm next week.
Well, just in time for the dog days of summer, a new era for the Butler Blue Dynasty as a new mascot gives us a reason for pause. His first day on the job next.
Keller and Keller.
I want to take you back to downtown Indianapolis. RTV6 cameras rolling live on the downtown peaceful protest. You can see there demonstrators marching down several downtown streets, chanting Black Lives Matter. We'll keep updated on this for you.
A new era is underway on the Butler University campus. Blue 4 is now the top dog on the North Side campus. It's his first day as the official Bulldog mascot. He's only 7 months old and it's quite a big job ahead of him. He tweeted today that his goal is to spread joy, happiness, and love to everyone he meets in the name of Butler University. Welcome in, Blue 4. Up until today, he's been learning at the paw of Trip, or Butler Blue 3. He officially retired yesterday after 8 years on the job. He tweeted today that his first day of retirement was going well. He woke up late, ate breakfast, sat outside and soaked up some sun, then took a nap. We hope you have many, many, many more restful days ahead. A job well done. We'll be back with the news at 6.